The whistle pierced the salty air like a knife, and I froze mid-stride, my board shorts clinging to my thighs from the surf spray. "Get the hell out of the water!" Mason's voice boomed from the tower, raw with panic I'd never heard before, his bronzed arms waving me in like I was the last idiot on earth. But it wasn't me he was saving, it was George, my best friend since diapers, thrashing in the undertow like a man drowning in more than just the Pacific. That summer in Santa Cruz, California, hit like a rogue wave, unpredictable, crashing over everything I thought I knew about myself. I was 24, fresh out of a dead-end graphic design gig in San Francisco, crashing at my parents' old beach bungalow to find myself, as Mom put it with that hopeful squint she got after too much Chardonnay. The town was all faded glory, surf shops hawking overpriced wax, taco stands slinging fish burritos that burned going down, and the boardwalk's rickety Ferris while creaking like it remembered better days. I spent mornings sketching waves on napkins at the coffee shack, afternoons body surfing until my skin pruned, and nights nursing beers on the deck, staring at the stars that looked too damn close, like they were judging me. George showed up unannounced 2 weeks in, his beat-up Jeep rattling into the driveway with the top down and his guitar slung in the back. We'd been inseparable growing up, him the golden boy with the easy laugh and tousled blonde hair, me the quiet one sketching his chaos into something poetic. College split us. He chased music dreams in L.A. I buried myself in pixels. But there he was, grinning like no time had passed, tossing his duffel over the porch rail. "Miss me?" "Sketch boy," he'd say, pulling me into a hug that lingered a beat too long, his stubble scraping my cheek. We fell back into rhythm fast, morning runs along West Cliff Drive, where the fog rolled in like a bad memory, pounding pavement past wind-bent cypresses and the occasional homeless guy strumming a battered ukulele. Afternoons, we'd hit the water, George charging waves like he owned them, me hanging back, content to watch his silhouette cut the horizon. Evenings were bonfires on the beach, roasting marshmallows until they charred black, trading stories about exes and failures. His were always Wilder, the indie band that fizzled, the actress who ghosted him after Coachella. Mine? A string of forgettable hookups with girls whose names blurred together, leaving me hollow. It was on one of those runs that I first spotted Mason. He was up in the tower at Cowell Beach, all 6'3" of him perched like a sentinel, red board shorts faded from salt and sun, whistle dangling from his neck. Lifeguards in Santa Cruz were gods among men, tanned, tattooed, with that effortless cool that came from staring down sharks and drunk frat boys. Mason stood out, though, dark hair, cropped military short, eyes hidden behind aviators. But when he scanned ashore, it felt personal, like he was memorizing faces. George nudged me, wiping sweat from his brow. "Dude's a machine. Saved 3 kids last summer from a rip current. Total hero shit." I laughed it off, but something stuck. Maybe it was the way Mason moved, deliberate, coiled power in every shift of his weight, or how his gaze lingered on the water, not the crowds, like he saw threats no one else did. We kept running, pounding the path until our lungs burned. But I glanced back once, twice. He was watching us now, arms crossed over his broad chest, a faint smile tugging his lips. Or maybe it was the sun playing tricks. That night, over lukewarm Coronas by the fire pit, George got philosophical, the flames flickering in his blue eyes. "You ever feel like you're just waiting, man? Like life's got this big reveal, but you're stuck in a lobby." He poked the embers with a stick, sparks dancing up into the velvet sky. I nodded, staring at the bottle label peeling under my thumb. Yeah, I knew that feeling, the itch under my skin, the questions I shoved down like bad surf reports. George and I had always been each other's confessor. But lately, his touches felt charged. A hand on my knee during a story, a shoulder bump that sent heat pooling low. I chalked it up to the booze, the isolation. Santa Cruz had a way of blurring lines. The next day, the ocean turned traitor. It started innocent, a glassy swell rolling in, perfect for a midday session. George and I paddled out at Steamer Lane, the lineup buzzing with locals in wetsuits patched with duct tape. "Race you to the peak," he yelled, grinning as he dropped into a set wave, carving a flawless bottom turn. I followed, heart slamming, the board slicing clean until the current grabbed me sideways. No big deal. I'd shaken rips before. But George? He misjudged the foam pile. Got pitched hard, surfacing sputtering and off balance. That's when the whistle blew. Sharp, insistent, cutting through the roar. "George, in, now." Mason's voice again, this time edged with steel. I twisted in the white water, spotting him sprinting down the beach, board underarm, muscles flexing like coiled ropes. George was flailing now, arms windmilling, the undertow yanking him seaward. Panic hit me like ice water, my best friend, the unbreakable one, vanishing under a breaker. I swam hard, lungs screaming, but Mason was there first. He powered through the churn, a human arrow, grabbing George's vest and hauling him up. "Breathe. Man, I've got you." George's face was ashen, eyes wide with terror I'd never seen, not even when his folks split or his band imploded. Mason dragged him shoreward, me stroking parallel, useless but desperate. They hit the sand in a tangle, George hacking up seawater, Mason kneeling over him, hand steady on his chest. "Easy. You're good. Just breathe." I stumbled up, knees buckling, collapsing beside them. "George, shit. You okay?" He nodded weakly, but his eyes locked on Mason's, something raw passing between them. Gratitude? More? Mason clapped his shoulder, standing with that effortless grace. "Listen to the flags next time. Yeah? Ocean doesn't give second chances." His gaze flicked to me, then, piercing through the aviators, and my stomach flipped. "You his spotter?" Yeah. "Alex," I managed, sticking out a hand that felt too clammy. He gripped it firm, calluses rough from ropes and rescues, holding a second longer than necessary. "Mason, stick close out there." Santa Cruz bites back. He jogged off to the tower, leaving George sputtering thanks and me reeling, the adrenaline crash mixing with something sharper. Unnamed. That brush with the deep crack, something open in George. He was quieter after, nursing a bruised ego with extra IPAs, strumming melancholic chords on his guitar until the strings hummed with ache. Felt like dying out there. Alex. Like the water knew my secrets and wanted him dragged up. We were on the bungalow deck, stars pricking the black above. The distant crash of waves a lullaby laced with warning. I pressed him, "What secrets?" But he just shook his head, eyes distant. "Old ghosts." You know how it is. I did, more than I admitted. My own ghosts were whispers, the way I'd stared too long at guys in the gym locker room back in college. Chalking it up to envy, the crushes on straight friends that soured into silence, the family barbecues where dads man up, jokes landed like punches. Mom suspected. I think her hugs lingered too, soft and knowing, but we'd never named it. In the Bay Area bubble, being gay was fine, progressive poster child stuff. But Santa Cruz? It was surf bros and rainbow flags. Sure, but under the salt crust, judgments festered like kelp. Mason became our shadow after that. We'd spot him in the tower, a constant, his presence pulling like the tide. George started excuses to wander his stretch of beach, need to return that board wax, and I tag along. drawn despite myself. One afternoon, we found him off duty, waxing his longboard by the ramp, tank top slung over the rail, sweat tracing the V of his back. "Heroes get breaks too," George quipped, tossing him a water bottle. Mason caught it one-handed, smirking. Saves energy for the real saves. His eyes crinkled, laugh lines deepening. And up close, he was even more, freckles dusting his nose from sun exposure, a scar snaking his collarbone from some pre-Lifeguard scrape. We chatted easy, his off-season gigs as a surf coach for at-risk kids, George's music hustles, my half-assed sketches of the coast. "Show me some time," Mason said, nodding at my notebook peeking from my pack. His voice dropped low, like sharing a wave. "Bet you've got an eye for the hidden breaks." Heat crawled up my neck. George jumped in, steering to safer waters, local spots. Best tacos, but I caught Mason's glance again, lingering. That night, George crashed early, mumbling about a headache, leaving me alone with the fire's glow. I couldn't shake it, Mason's easy confidence, the way he saw through the bullshit. Or was it projection? My phone buzzed, a grinder ping from some twink in Monterey, but I swiped it away, guilt twisting like seaweed. The pull intensified. We'd hit the beach as a trio now, Mason joining post-shift for pickup volleyball or shared six-packs. He was all California cool, quoting Kerouac on road trips, railing against developers gutting the cliffs for condos. "This place is sacred. Man, lose it. And what's left?" George bonded hard, their laughs sinking like harmonies. But I felt sidelined, sketching their profiles in the sand only to kick them smooth. Jealousy? No. Deeper, a yearning that scared me spitless. Then came the storm warning. Not the weather kind, a literal nor'easter brewing offshore, churning the sea to froth, but the one inside. It broke on a Thursday, humidity thick as regret. George and I were prepping for a bonfire when he dropped the bomb, casual as checking the swell report. Mason asked me out. "Like dinner." Tomorrow. He was fiddling with the cooler, avoiding my eyes, but his cheeks flushed under the stubble. My chest caved. "Out, as in, date." The word hung unspoken, heavy as driftwood. George nodded, sheepish grin cracking. "Yeah, turns out he's like us. Or, you know, bi-curious or whatever. We've been talking. The hours they'd vanished for drives clicked, scouting breaks. He'd said, betrayal stung, not because he hid it, but because I'd been blind, sketching around my own truth while he chased his. "Congrats." Man, I forced, clapping his back too hard. He seemed solid. Inside, turmoil roiled, relief for him, envy that twisted into rage. Why him first? Why not me? Fumbling in shadows? George bought it. Thank God. Rambling about nerves and what-ifs. But I excused myself to the water's edge, waves gnawing my ankles like accusations. Sleep evaded me that night, the bungalow creaking under wind gusts. By dawn, resolve hardened. I'd confront it, my mess, not his. But fate, that cruel surfer, had other plans. The beach was deserted when I hit the surf, needing the cold slap to numb the ache. I paddled far, chasing solitude, until a set dumped me hard. Surfacing, gasping, I saw the tower, Mason, binoculars trained, spotted my drift. He blew the whistle before I could wave it off. "Alex, paddle parallel." Damn it, his voice carried urgency. Boots thudding down the ramp. I fought the pull, arms leaden, but the rip won, dragging me sideways. Panic flickered, ironic. After George's scare, but then Mason was there, board bridging the gap, hauling me aboard with a grunt. "Hold on. Kick with me." We stroked in tandem, his body heat cutting the chill, breaths sinking ragged. Shore hit fast. He dragged me up the sand, hands firm on my ribs. You trying to join the ghosts out there? No anger, just concern. Eyes stripping me bare. I coughed brine, meeting his gaze. Just clearing my head. Lies. He studied me, thumb brushing sand from my cheek, innocent or not. Electricity arced, unspoken. Can't lose good ones to the deep, he murmured, voice gravel low. Then, impulse or madness. He leaned in, lips brushing mine tentative, salt tanged. Time fractured, soft, searching, his hand cupping my jaw like I was fragile. Breathless, I kissed back, world narrowing to heartbeat and him. He pulled away first, eyes searching. Shit. George. The name shattered it. George. His date. My friend. Don't, I whispered, scrambling up, since shedding like skin. Betrayal doubled, his assumption, my complicity. I bolted, legs burning, leaving Mason calling after. Back at the bungalow, George was packing, face thunderous. Where the hell were you? Mason texted, said you wiped out. Accusation laced it. But under? Hurt. Jealousy? Heard you two got. Close. Gossip traveled fast in surf towns. It wasn't, but it was. Hasty. Messy. Mine. George deflated, slumping on the steps. I get it. You're the artist. The deep one. I'm just the noise. Self-pity. But truth barbed, our roles. Etched since kids. No, George. It's not. Words failed. Secrets spilled then. In fragments, my buried doubts. The crushes I'd sketched and burned. The fear of losing him to labels. He listened, eyes wet, then confessed his own. The LA years experimenting in shadows. The dread of small-town echoes, even here. Mason? A bridge. Not the end. We hug it out, raw and real, but the fracture lingered. That night, the storm hit proper, rain lashing the roof, thunder rumbling like unspoken regrets. Mason showed at dawn, soaked, knocking urgent. We need to talk. All of us. The tower loomed in my mind. That kiss a ghost. What now? Forgiveness? Or the rip taking us under? The rain tapered to a drizzle by noon, leaving the air scrubbed clean, but the bungalow felt stifling, thick with the unsaid. George paced the living room, fingers drumming his thigh like a frantic backbeat, while I perched on the sagging couch, sketching absent swirls in my notebook, waves coiling into knots. Mason's knock echoed like Judgment Day, and when George yanked the door open, there he stood, hair plaster dark, board shorts dripping puddles, eyes flicking between us like he was gauging a swell. Come to gloat, George bit out, arms crossed tight, but his voice cracked on the edges, hurt pup more than alpha wolf. Mason raised his hands, palms out, the universal white flag. Nah, man. To apologize. For assuming. For everything. He stepped in, water trailing, and the room shrank. Up close, post-storm, he smelled like ozone and salt. That Lifeguard aura cracked just enough to show the man beneath, vulnerable, jaw set but eyes pleading. We settled uneasy, beers cracked despite the hour, condensation beating like sweat. Mason dove in first, straightforward as a drop-in. Look, I misread the signals. George has been opening up. Yeah, but you, Alex, he trailed off, glancing my way, and heat flooded my face. The kiss hung there, electric and exposed. That on the beach wasn't planned, but it felt real. George snorted, but it was hollow, swigging deep. Real, right? Like how you two bonded over my near drowning. Classic. Sarcasm dripped, but under it, Pain lanced, the golden boy's armor denting. I'd seen it before. High school, when his crush on the quarterback fizzled unspoken. College, bandmates ghosting after he came out in a haze of weed and vulnerability. George armored with charm, but cracks showed in quiet moments. Like now, his knee bouncing erratic. I jumped in, voice steadier than I felt. It was a mistake. Adrenaline. The rip messes with your head. Lies. Mostly. That kiss, it unlocked something feral. A hunger I'd starved. But admitting it meant torching the fragile trio we'd built. Mason's gaze pinned me. Skeptical, but he nodded slow. Fair. But secrets? They pull harder than any current. He leaned forward, elbows on knees, tattoo peeking, a compass rose on his forearm. Ink faded like old regrets. Grew up in Monterey. Surf rat family. Dad was a guard too, till a wipeout took his spine. Mom raised me solo. Preaching faced the waves head on. But me, I dodged. Dated girls through high school. Buried the rest. Till a buddy in the Coast Guard. Well, let's say he taught me to navigate choppy waters. His confession landed soft, but it rippled. George softened a fraction, nodding like he got it. The hiding, the half-lives. L.A. was my dodge, he admitted, voice low. Parties, gigs, hookups in alleys. Felt free, till it didn't. Came here to reset. Not. Complicate. That was us, a knot of what-ifs and maybes, tangled in the bungalow's faded shag carpet. I stayed quiet, sketching the moment, 3 silhouettes against rain-streaked windows, but my lines shook. My turn loomed, the weight of silence crushing. Mason sensed it, turning gentle. Your call, Alex. But if we're doing this, any of it, no more towers in the fog. Metaphor for the Lifeguard perch, or the isolation we'd built. Either way, it gutted me. The words tumbled then, halting at first, then flood. I've known since. Forever, I think. Locker rooms, sleepovers, staring too long, heart racing. Drew it out, literally, then burned the pages. Dad's all toughen up. Son, Mom's hints go nowhere. And you, George, you're the constant. Scared shitless I'd lose that. Tears pricked. Hot and unwelcome. But voicing it? Cathartic. Like cresting a monster wave. George's face crumpled, reaching across to grip my hand. Lose me? Idiot. You're the anchor. His squeeze was fierce. Brotherly, but laced with something tender. Grief for the years we danced around it. Mason watched, quiet respect in his eyes, then added, takes guts to name the storm. Respect. We talked till dusk, beers warming to flat, peeling back layers like sunburnt skin. Laughter crept in, George's impression of Dad's fishing yarns. Mason's tale of rescuing a pod of seals. They thanked me with stink. No joke. But undercurrents swirled. George's date with Mason. Now awkward limbo, my kiss. A wild card. The fear that sunlight would scorch what we'd unearthed. By nightfall, tentative peace settled. Bonfire, George suggested, and we agreed, piling wood like offerings. The beach was ours alone. Storm scoured, stars emerging crisp. Flames crackle hungry, casting shadows that danced long. And for an hour, it was magic stories looping, George's guitar strumming folk covers of the Lumineers, Mason's baritone harmonizing rough. But peace is fragile as sea glass. Midway through a S more, sticky chocolate smearing my chin, George's phone lit up. Unknown number. But he answered, face draining color. What? No, how'd you? Shit. He stalked off, voice rising in bursts. That's not, I never said. Stay the hell away. Mason and I exchanged looks, gut twisting. When George returned, He was wrecked, eyes red-rimmed, fists clenched. X. From L.A. Some douche from the band. Saw my Insta story, pieced it together, threatening to out me to my folks. Old school guilt trip, don't drag the family name. Like I'm the scandal. Rage boiled in me. Protective fire. Block him. We're not kids anymore. But George shook his head. Haunted. It's not just him. If it spreads, gigs dry up. Folks freak. Dad still calls me his little straight arrow. Mason stood, decisive. Then we face it. Together. No one's dragging anyone. His hand on George's shoulder was steady, but his eyes sought mine, questioning, inviting alliance. I nodded, heart pounding. That night, we crashed as a unit, George in his room, Mason on the couch, tower duty at dawn, me wide awake, staring at the ceiling fan's lazy spin. Sleep came fitful, dreams of rips and revelations. Morning broke gray, coffee bitter on my tongue. Mason was gone early, but a note taped to the fridge. Breakfast tacos at the shack, 10 a.m. George begged off, need to call Mom. Spin some yarn, leaving me solo. The shack was a dive, picnic tables scarred with initials, ocean view framed by frayed nets. Mason waved me over. Plates steaming, carne asada, eggs fluffy, salsa verde that burned holy. We ate in companionable quiet at first, waves crashing punctuation. Then, about yesterday, he started, for pausing. The kiss. Was it just reflex? My pulse spiked, for clattering. Mason, hear me out. He leaned in, voice low over the friar's sizzle. You're not like the others. Quiet storm, you know? See the poetry in the pullback. Not just a drop, flattery, or truth. His hand brushed mine, accidental on purpose. Calluses sparking memory. George is solid. But you're the depth. Depth. It terrified and thrilled. A double overhead I'd never caught. And him, I whispered, glancing away. Loyalty warred with what? Mason sighed, sun catching a scar. He's figuring. We're all. But if it's you, he trailed, eyes locking promise. Peril. I pulled back, heart hammering. Not fair. Not now. Fleeing felt cowardice. But staying? Betrayal redux. I bolted mid-meal, sand flying, leaving him with the check and confusion. George was on the deck when I burst in, phone clutched white-knuckled. Escalated. Texted Dad a screenshot, some blurry club pic. Folks are en route. Flying down tomorrow. Panic laced his words. Eyes wild. What do I say? Hey, Pops. Surprise. Queer as a $3 bill? I hug him fierce. Mind racing. Truth. Or half. Whatever holds. But inside, guilt gnawed, my escape. Mason's words echoing. The bungalow, once refuge, closing like a riptide's grip. That afternoon, clarity struck like lightning. I texted Mason, tower. Sunset. We in this fog. No reply, but I knew. George waved me off to clear your head, oblivious or willfully blind. The beach path wound lonely. Cypresses whispering warnings. Sun dipping low in a blaze of orange and bruised purple. The tower loomed skeletal against the sky. Steps slick with spray. Mason was there, perched midway, legs dangling, silhouette etched sharp. Knew you'd come, he said, voice carrying soft. No aviators now, eyes raw, unguarded. I climbed, heart in throat, settling beside him. The view stretched endless, horizons swallowing the sun, waves gilded and fierce. Can't do half measures, I started, words tumbling. George's family. But you see me. The parts one hide. He turned, breath mingling. Then don't hide. His hand found mine. Deliberate. Thumb tracing knuckles. The world hushed. No whistles. No crashes, just us. Suspended. Our kiss this time was deliberate. Slow burn. Lips parting like waves retreating to reveal tide pools of want. No rush. No rip, just depth. His free hand cupping my neck. Pulling gentle. Breathless. Yes, speechless. Utterly. When we broke. Foreheads touching. He whispered. Choose us. All three. We're just this. Us. The word hung. Heavy with possibility and the storm it would unleash. Choice. It sounded simple. Like picking a line up. But up in that tower. With Mason's breath warm on my skin and the sun bleeding into the sea. It felt like defusing a bomb blindfolded. Below, the beach lay empty. A canvas of wet sand etched with secrets, our footprints trailing up like accusations. All three, I echoed, voice cracking, pulling back just enough to see his face, earnest, edged with fear mirroring mine. Mason nodded, slow, fingers interlacing with mine, solid, like he could anchor a supertanker. Not some poly-fantasy bullshit, but honesty. No more side-eyeing, no dodging. George knows the score. He's scared. Same as us. We talk it out, or it eats us alive. His free hand gestured wide, encompassing the vast Pacific. This ocean, it don't care about labels. Why should we? Poetic. Yeah, straight out of a Kerouac fever dream, but it landed. Santa Cruz was progressive on paper, pride flags whipping from porches, queer surf collectives shredding dawn patrols. But bone deep, the whispers lingered. That guard? Yeah, he's trailing into side glances at the bar. Gigs where crowds thinned if the lyrics veered too personal. We'd all tasted that undertow. I thought of George, alone in the bungalow, scripting lies for his folks. The ex's poison, seeping like oil. He'll bolt, I murmured, doubt coiling. Or worse, hate us. Mason's grip tightened. Hates the rip-talking. Face it. Paddle out. He leaned in again, forehead to mine, salt crystals flaking from his lashes. Or we drowned separate. The kiss that followed sealed it, not fire, but forge, molding resolve from raw ache. We lingered till twilight bruised the sky, trading truths in whispers. His first crush on his surf coach at 15. Buried under bro facades, my college breakdown. Sketching nudes of roommates till the RA knocked. Laughter mixed with tears. Catharsis salty as the spray below. Descending the tower felt symbolic, steps creaking under weight lifted, yet heavier with what's next. We walked the darkening beach hand in hand, casual to any passerby, but electric. George's Jeep lights glowed distant. My stomach nodded. Together, Mason asked, squeezing. Together, the bungalow door swung open to chaos. George mid-yell into his phone. Face a mask of fury. And if you breathe one word, I'll sue your ass for defamation. Yeah, family means something here. He slammed it down, spotting us, hands linked, vibe screaming we talked. His eyes narrowed, then softened to hurt. Cozy. While I played damage control. George, I started, but he waved it off, slumping into a chair, head in hands. Save it. X is a prick. Sent the pic to half the old crew. Text blowing up, dude. You swinging both ways now. Mom called too, dad concerned. Flying in at dawn. His laugh was bitter. Shattered glass. Perfect timing for your little summit. Mason stepped up. Voice even. Not little. And not without you. He pulled a chair close, forcing eye contact. We hashed it. No more games. You in, or we figure separate shores. George's head snapped up, gaze darting between us, betrayal flickering, then dawning understanding. You kissed him. Again. Statement. Not question. I nodded, guilt surging, but he exhaled long, rubbing his jaw. Knew it. Felt it. That pull. Like high school all over, watching you two orbit. Me the third wheel with a spotlight. Never third, I protested, kneeling beside him, hand on his knee. You're the constant. It's expansion. Messy. Yeah, but real. He searched my face, then Mason's. Vulnerability cracking wide. Real. After LA's parade of flakes? Hell, maybe. A ghost smile tugged. But if we're doing this, rules. No secrets. No jealousy nukes. And my folks? Radio silence till I'm ready. We nodded. Packed sealed over lukewarm pizza. Delivery guy's raised brow ignored. And a fresh round of beers. Laughter returned tentative. Stories looping back to lighter waters. George's botched first kiss tasted like Big Red and regret. Mason's seal rescue encore. But undercurrent hummed, tomorrow's arrival. A tidal wave inbound. Sleep was fitful. I crashed on the couch. Mason in the guest room. Boundaries. For now. George barricaded in his. Dreams churned. Rips morphing to family barbecues. Dad's grill smoke, choking confessions. Dawn cracked gray. Airport shuttle rumbling up the drive at 8 sharp. George's folks, Ellen. Bird-like with worry lines etched deep. Clutching a bakery box like armor. Tom. Barrel-chested ex-cop. Mustache twitching disapproval. Hugs were stiff, Ellen squeezing extra. Sensing fissures, Tom clapping backs too hard. Booming. Heard you boys been surfing up a storm. No wipeouts. George played host. Deflecting with charm. Tour of the bungalow. Coffee spiked with Irish for Dad. But tension crackled. Especially when Mason dropped by for patrol handover. Shirtless. Towel slung low. All innocent muscle. Tom's eyes narrowed over his mug. Lifeguard. Huh. Tough gig. Keep an eye on these punks. Ocean's no joke. Gruff. But probing. Mason's easy yes sir diffused it, though Ellen's gaze lingered. Curious. Lunch stretched eternal. Clam chowder at a harbor joint. Fog rolling in thick. George dominated chatter. Band updates. Totally straight edge now, but Ellen cornered me at the salad bar. Something's off. Alex. He's lighter, but haunted. You know, I swallowed hard. Croutons lodging. Just growing up. Mrs. Ush. Santa Cruz magic. Half truth. She patted my arm. Eyes knowing. But let it slide. Afternoon devolved. Dad dragging us to the boardwalk for man time. Arcade games. Ferris wheel creaks. George and I tag team deflections. But Tom's questions sharpened. That ex-troublemaker? George mentioned. Clubs. Casual. But loaded. Mustache quivering. George froze mid-ski ball toss. Water under the bridge. Pops. Focusing on music here. Sweat beaded his temple. I jumped in. Yeah. Killer gigs lined up. You'll hear him. Tom grunted. But eyes bored in cop instinct. Back at the bungalow. Ellen pulled George aside for girl talk, leaving us guys on the deck. Mason texted, on shift. You good? I replied, thumbs flying, barely. Stormfront inbound. It broke at sunset. We were grilling burgers, smoke curling lazy, when Tom's phone pinged. He glanced. Face stone. Son, we need to talk. The ex's handiwork. No doubt, forwarded venom. George blanched. Ellen emerged. Brow furrowed. Inside, it erupted. Tom. Voice thunder. This. Lifestyle? It's a phase. Right? Bad influences. He waved at us, at me, at the ether where Mason lurked. You're better than that. George. Straighten up, literally. George's face twisted, fury rising. Better? It's me. Dad. Not a phase. Not a scandal. Gay. Deal with it. The word detonated. Air sucking out. Ellen gasped soft. Tom sputtered. Red-faced. You what? That ex poisoned you. Denial roared. But George held ground. Voice steel. No. On it for years. Hiding for you. No more. I stood frozen. Ally, but outsider. Heart shattering for him. Ellen reached tentative. Oh. Honey. Tears welling. But Tom stormed out, slamming the screen door. Jeep peeling gravel. Silence crushed. George deflated, shoulders slumping. Well, that went great. Sarcasm masked the quake. But Ellen pulled him close, murmuring apologies, promises of bridges. We love you. Always. Progress. Fragile as foam. Mason arrived post-shift, sensing the wreckage, bearing ice cream, pints of Ben and Jerry's. Peace offering. We gathered subdued, Ellen quizzing gentle, that handsome lifeguard. George thawing slow. Tom stayed out, nursing wounds at a dive bar. Text terse, needs space. Night fell heavy, but in the quiet, bonds knit tighter. Mason crashed the deck vigil. Hand finding mine under the rail, George caught it, nodded faint approval. Crew, he toasted, raising a spoon. Ellen smiled small, in on the secret now. But rips don't release easy. Midnight brought Tom's return drunk, bellowing regrets. Didn't raise no fairy. Slurs cut deep. George recoiling. Me surging protective. Mason, ever the guard. Step between. Calm steel, sir. Easy. Family talks. Not tears down. Tom swung wild, fist glancing Mason's jaw, chaos erupting. George yelled. Ellen shrieked. I tackled, restraining. Please spilling. Dad, stop. He's us, all of us. The fight drained Tom, collapsing in a chair, sobs racking. Lost my boy, he mumbled. But George knelt, hand on knee. Not lost. Here. Love you anyway. Dawn broke mending. Ellen mediating. Tom gruff apologies over coffee. Didn't know how to handle. No full rainbow, but a truce. Promises of therapy. Time. They flew out midday. Hugs lingering. Ellen's whisper in my ear. Take care of him. Both of you. Relief washed. But scars itched. George crashed hard. Emotional jet lag. Mason and I walked the beach. Processing. Close call, he said. Arm around my waist. First publicish touch. Too close. But in his hold. Future glimmered. Choppy. But navigable. Yet fate, that sly bastard, wasn't done. 2 days later, George's ex escalated. Not texts, but a leaked video, grainy club footage. Us three at a Pride after-party months back. Arms linked. Laughing free. Posted anonymous. But tagged vicious. Surf Town's dirty secret. Comments flooded. Slurs. Threats. Locals piling on. The backlash hit tsunami. Gigs canceled. Image issue. Whispers at the shack. Tom's phone blowing with concerned kin. George spiraled. Guitar silent. Eyes hollow. Told you. Poison spreads. Mason rallied. We fight. Together. But doubt crept. My sketches stalled. Job apps in SF tempting escape. The tower called again. Our perch. But this time for reckoning. The video went viral in our microcosm overnight. Santa Cruz small. Scandal spread like flu in a wetsuit shop. By morning, George's inbox was a minefield. Old bandmates unfriending. A cousin's passive-aggressive Bible quote. Even the taco stand guy side-eyeing when I grabbed burritos. Rough waves? Huh, he muttered, sliding change like it burned. George holed up, blinds drawn, binging true crime docs to drown the noise. Ironic. escaping one predator for pixels. Mason and I tag-teamed, him patrolling beaches for hecklers, none yet. But tension hummed. Me fielding calls, scripting deflections. Community matter. Ellen texted from back home, forwarding PFLAG links. Tom stayed radio silent. A wall of wounded pride. My own folks, clueless bliss. Mom's check-ins bubbly. Beach boys still shining. Guilt gnawed. Coming out felt selfish now. A luxury amid George's inferno. We convened that evening in the bungalow, air thick with takeout Thai and unspoken dread. George emerged showered but shadowed. Hair damp, eyes puffy. Viral. Great. Next stop. Dateline. Queer surf scandal. Sarcasm sharp, but hands trembled, uncapping a singa. Mason slid beside him on the couch. Shoulder bump solid. Breathe. Man. It's noise. We amplify our story. Ever the coach, his at-risk kids program, he turned bullies into allies with words. Not fists. But George shrugged him off. Gentle rejection. Easy for you. Mister. Compass rose. All navigated. The jab landed. Mason winced, but held. I paced. Notebook clutched like shield. Then we write it. My sketches. Your lyrics, slam back. Ideas sparked, desperate. Zine. Raw confessions illustrated. Distributed at the boardwalk. Reclaim the narrative. American as apple pie and protest marches. George eyed me. Spark flickering. You serious? After Dad's meltdown. Dead serious. Adrenaline surged. Creative fire I'd missed. Mason grinned. First real one in days. Hell yeah. Tower launch party. We dove in manic. Nights blurring to all-nighters. George's guitar riffing anthems of hidden coves and stolen glances. My pencils flying. Portraits of us three against stormy seas. Symbolic but stark. Mason contributed prose. Essays on facing the swell. Vulnerability wrapped in grit. Ellen mailed care packages. Queer lit. Rainbow stickers. Her note. Proud of my brave boys. Tom cracked the ice with a grunt voicemail. Heard the crap. Ignore the idiots. Love ya. Son. Baby steps. But seismic. The zine took shape. Undertow truths. 40 pages of fury and fragility. Printed cheap at the community center. Cover. My ink of the tower at dusk. 3 silhouettes entwined. Waves cradling, not crashing. We hit the boardwalk launch guerrilla style. Booth of driftwood and fairy lights. Free copies stacked like ammo. Word spread. Locals curious. Allies turning out. A grizzled surfer dad grabbed one. Nodding gruff. Respect. Ocean levels us all. But backlash lurked. Midway through, the X materialized lean. Smirking. Band tee faded. Flanked by 2 meathead buddies. Fancy. Little mag for little secrets. Venom dripped. Crowd thinning awkward. George stepped up, zine in hand. Read it. Then talked, defiant, but voice quavered. The ex snatched it, flipping pages, his face twisting at the dedication. To the ghosts who haunt. Thanks for the push. Pathetic, he sneered, tossing it in the sand. Buddies chuckled, tension spiked. Mason loomed. Guard Mo, walk. Asshole. Or I make you. Fists clenched. A voice cut through Tom's, barreling from the crowd. Mustache bristling. That's my boy you're slandering. He squared up, ex-faltering, backpedaling with mutters. The dispersal was swift. Locals closed ranks. A rainbow flag grandma, handing the ex a copy with a wink. Enlighten yourself. Dear. Aftermath buzzed. Hugs from strangers. Tom's arm around George. First public thaw. Saw the news. Drove down. No more hiding. Gruff. But eyes wet. Ellen arrived hours later, turning the booth into a hug fest. Pride swelled. Communal, Santa Cruz reclaiming its soul. But high tides recede. Launch euphoria faded, reality gnawed. Gigs trickled back, cautious promoters. Edgy crowds, but George's fire dimmed. Lyrics turning inward. Mason's shift stretched. Whispers from brass about distractions. Me, SF job, offer solidified, creative director. Big bucks. But uprooting us? The fracture hit subtle, dinner's tense. Touches tentative. George pulled away first. Needs space to breathe, crashing at a buddy's. Guitar case is only baggage. Mason and I clung. Tower dates turning therapy. He's processing. Give it air. But air turned vacuum. A week in, I found a note on the fridge. George's scrawl. Heading to L.A. Gig lined up. Love you both, don't wait. Gee. No goodbye. Just gone. Jeep tracks fading in the drive. Devastation crashed. Mason found me on the deck. Note crumpled. Tears hot. He bailed. After everything. Rage mixed grief, betrayal anew. The golden boy fleeing chop. Mason pulled me close. Chin on my head. Not bail. Survival. His whole grounded. But eyes shadowed, his own doubts surfacing. And us? You leaving for the city? The question loomed. SF's skyline, a siren call, stability. Escape from small-town scars. But here, roots tangled deep, waves, tower. Him. Not without you, I whispered. Decision crystallizing. We kissed fierce. Ceiling packed, stay, build. Retrieving George took grit. Road trip south. Mason's truck rumbling I-5. Playlist of his demos on loop. L.A. glittered cruel, neon promises. Traffic snarl. We tracked him to a dive venue in Silver Lake. Dim stage. Hipsters nursing IPAs. George mid-set. Voice raw over acoustics. Lyrics of rips and revelations. Crowd hushed. Post-show. He spotted us in the green room haze, cigarette smoke and string lights. Stalkers. Grin weak. But real. We crashed a booth. Tacos and truths. His panic post-launch. Fear of dragging us under. You two? Solid. Me? Still paddling. Mason clapped his back. Then paddle with us. No solos. George searched our faces. Then nodded. Slow exhale. Deal. But slow. Therapy. All in. Vulnerability raw. But healing. Back in Santa Cruz. Rhythm rebuilt. Group sessions at the center. Tom, even zooming in. Mustache solemn. Gigs swelling with queer crowds. My sketches selling at local galleries. Tower series a hit. Mason's program boomed. At-risk kids crediting the gay guards for courage. George and I inked matching wave tats, subtle, on ribs, while Mason's compass got a third arrow, pointing home. Months blurred to seasons, winter swells pounding, spring blooms, rioting cliffs. We three, messy harmony, nights tangled platonic, passions pairing fluid, Mason and me cresting intense, George and him jamming tender, all of us sinking rare. Electric. No labels. Just love, fierce. Flawed. Ocean deep. One dusk. Tower perch again. George strumming soft. Mason's head on my lap. My fingers in his hair. Sun dipped. Painting us gold. Worth the rip? George asked. Eyes on horizon. Worth everything, I said. Voices echoing unanimous. Breathless still. But no longer speechless, story hours, waves whispering approval. In America's fractured heart, we'd carved a cove, human, messy, unbreakable. The lifeguard hadn't just saved me, he'd pulled us all to shore.